Really, I want to join the rest of Kenyans, the whole nation, in conveying my condolences to the family and the relatives of former President Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki's history is synonymous with the history of this country. He was at the center of formulation of the first manifesto of this country at independence. Also the first development plan for this country. And the way they conceptualized this country, even the constitution itself, was at the center of the drafting of the constitution. The way they conceptualized the formation of this country was right, to give it stability. Kenya was saved from the terrible experiences that were experienced by a lot of other countries in Africa, military coups and so a lot of instability. Otherwise, Kenya has been stable all this time. President Kibaki was the first finance minister. Not the first, actually was second. And he did a lot in terms of formulation of the Kenyans development strategy and the broad-based development of the country, allowing or encouraging private sector development in the country, and really supporting the other essential services that support or strengthen the development of the country: education, trade policy, agricultural policy, and also the security policy for the country. So you cannot separate our former president from this country. Mwai Kibaki be known or be remembered, treasured for in history, the history of this country. He delivered the second constitution of this country. He delivered the economic and the social, the Vision 2030 for this country. The constitution really entrenched democracy, human rights. It entrenched freedoms of expression in this country, and brought about devolution, which is key to the all-inclusive development strategy for this country. So the Vision 2030 is a long-term development strategy for this country. During his time, we saw continuous, sustained growth of above 6%. In fact, the target was to reach 10%, but he left at one of the highest economic growth rates, 7.1%. So his strategy focused on essential services like education, expanded education at unprecedented speed, rate. Primary education became free, and primary enrollment became almost universal. He expanded, more than doubled the secondary school capacity. Before, secondary school was limited to only boarding schools, but he opened up space for these schools, secondary schools, and that more than doubled. He increased the universities from 6 to 22 universities. Today, no Kenyan who want to join university who can miss space. Before that, it's only the rich people who used to send their children to India and America and Europe. But today, the universities are around and not far away from homes. So really, he did so much in terms of road infrastructure. I think the first, most significant, of course, was the Thika Highway. He did also the Isiolo-Moyale Highway, more than 520 kilometers. These were the most significant during his days. The Southern Bypass, the outering, of course, most of it was done at that time. And a lot of other highways in Western Kenya, Nyanza, the coast. So there is no area which was left untouched in terms of the highway development, especially linking Kenya with the neighboring countries, Tanzania in the north, south, and central, Uganda, and also South Sudan, and Ethiopia, and Somalia. So the highways brought a lot of transformation in this country. You can drive anywhere smoothly. Now, Uhuru has continued with that thrust. Kibaki made a record in terms of rural electrification. He was able to connect more than 1 million homes. Before, when he took over, connections were like 40 per year throughout the country. But he was also able to reach 1 million connections within the period he was in power. He brought a revolution in the telecommunication sector in the country with the arrival of the marine fiber cable. That's why now the connectivity, the internet, Kenya is one of the leaders in the third world. We open up space because of communications. President Kibaki, I think, also will be remembered for reforms he made in the public sector. Public sector reforms actually even won a United Nations award as the best reformed public service in the world. We won that trophy during his time, and at the end of it, corruption and been really reduced to bare minimum. So we have lost a father of modern Kenya. What he has left behind, his legacy, will never be forgotten, because everything is very well documented. The new constitution, the Vision 2030, and the development. He took the country leadership when the GDP was like 12 billion US dollars. 12 billion US dollars. He left when it was about $60 billion. Today is about over $100 billion. That is huge by African standards. It's huge. So we can only pray for him and ask the Almighty God to bless his family and to rest his peace in eternal peace. Thank you.
Okay, maybe having worked with President Mwai.
Well, there were very many moments, which because I was with him all the time. I remember the first day when I was appointed. He was still not recovered from his accident, so I went to his private apartment in his state house. And I was trying to get guidelines on how I would manage the cabinet. So I said, how many meetings are we going to be having? In probably once a month. That's what I suggest. Once a month? I said, no. Fortnightly. And and fortnightly cabinet meetings for the 9.5 years I was there. See the way how seriously he took. Even when he was unwell, I would ask him to put it off. He would not. He insisted on continuing. The other thing I remember about him is during the crisis. I remember during the referendum of 2005, government lost. At that time he was in Nyeri and I was here. I called him because I didn't sleep that night. Very early in the morning, where I waited up to 7. Then I called him. I said, Your Excellency, you wanted to come today afternoon, but I proposed that you come in the morning so that you can address the nation. He told me, yes, I'm preparing to come, I'm coming. So you prepare as the speech, the speech draft. You normally prepare draft. Then I told him, Your Excellency, we are really shocked. You have done so much. The country, as we were doing the growth, everything was up in terms of performance. But how we lost the referendum, I could not understand. He told me, don't worry. Hiyo imeisha. He was never frightened or shocked. He told hayo imeisha. So we started another chapter. That was Kibaki. He came and of course addressed the nation and he gave at least assurance that the government has accepted the results and now we shall start preparing for what Kenyans want. Because that was. So if Kenyans don't want that, we still have to consult until we get what they want. The other time is, I remember, is during the post-election, just the results of 2007, when the results were very tight. Not even the results were. Raila was far ahead by about 1 million votes, and we were with him alone in the office. So I started thinking of counseling him so that he doesn't feel frustrated. But I told him, Your Excellency, the economy is growing so much. You have done so much in education, in health, infrastructure, all these other things. He said, anyway, that is for the people to see, because everything is there, is in the open, and I think the he said the actions speak louder than words. So he was prepared to accept whatever outcome. When I was a bit worried, he was very calm. Another time is when they were negotiating the Grand Coalition agreement. You know it was facilitated by mediators, which was read by Kofi Annan. Then there were some things they did not agree on, the mediators. So they brought them to the president and Raila, and then the president of Tanzania was the chairman of the AU, was there now to facilitate the final compromise. Not Kofi Annan, it was Kikwete, to facilitate the final on outstanding issues. So that's the time the president agreed on our cabinet, 50-50 cabinet. His side of the team was very, very upset to hear the president has agreed 50-50. How do you agree 50-50 and you have won the election? You know, that was the issue. How do you agree on 50-50 and you have won the election? Sympathia 1/3. Is that not enough for somebody who has lost? President said, you know, we are going now, after they signed, now and got that feedback. There is people who are very annoyed, are very unhappy. So as we are going to sign publicly, I was under a lot of pressure from these other people. So I told the president, let's go back to the office. We need to consult. Last minute, let's go back to the office. We need to consult. So I told him what the leaders of his side were saying. He said, what is important, not what I get. First of all is the peace in this country, and the government which is working with the support of both sides. Not what I get. And that's why we've agreed on this, made this compromise. If that is what is going to bring peace, and I'm sure it will bring peace in this country, then it's fine. I can't go back to it. It's fine. So I told him, Your Excellency, what you have decided will go into history, because you have saved this country, you have restored stability. And that's what exactly happened. So he's a man I respect. I mean, he's a person who put its country first, the interest of the country first. Other things were secondary.
Maybe on that point of Grand Coalition,
yes,
if you can tell us more. He was running a very broad.
You know, in the history of the country, I think that was one of the most efficient cabinets. Somehow people said it was bloated, but actually, if you look at the achievements of that Grand Coalition for those 5 years, was enormous, because the ministers were focusing on not a broad area, on a specific area. So they pushed those areas, those sectors to the limit, and he gave them a lot of discretion, because he said what I wanted is results. Sim Midomo is results, and both him, of course, and the Prime Minister worked very closely. Sometimes an incident will happen here and there, and I think the cabinet is not working, but the cabinet was working very solidly. And if you talk to anybody who was in the cabinet that time, he will tell you it was a wonderful cabinet. Yeah. The results were, see the growth rate of the economy, the The country really moved very fast. And the whole country, the population was very supportive. This is the first time I saw the Kenyan population completely feeling, the whole country feeling they belong, they are part of the government. They are at the center, not at the periphery.
He delivered the constitution that brought devolution.
Yes.
How did this idea of devolving power and resources come by?
You see, his party was talking from broad-based development with resources being devolved to the districts. You know, those days there were districts, to the district, devolved the districts. But the ODM party was pushing for devolution, devolving the government to the provinces. You know, there were 80 provinces, to the provinces. So there was those devolved to the districts or devolved to the provinces. But devolution for the government, or Kibaki government, was still put a lot of emphasis on centralized government, but devolved development to the counties, while the ODM was pushing for devolved, which means we are devolving even power and resources. But eventually they got their compromise. They devolve to the counties. Counties, of course, were bigger than districts, but smaller than the provinces. The reason was some provinces were very, very strong, very big, and in the event there was a dispute with the central government, probably there would be quite a lot of instability. If there was a conflict between the central government and a province, like Rift Valley, or a province like Nyanza, or a province like Central Province, or Coast, you know, that can destabilize the country completely. So that's why it was found the best thing is to devolve to the county level, where the counties have all the power, both political and resources, but they are not a threat to the national government. 9 of them can be a threat to national government. And those were ingenuity of Kibaki to ensure we have stability and there is no secession. You know, sometimes when provinces are very powerful, they can secede and form their own state. That was the wisdom of the president, and that was became the compromise.
My final question.
Yes.
When people look back now, yes, they see like Kibaki did some money.
You know, a few things have happened, which some of them are external. You know, sometimes economic problems have a lot to do with some external problems. Like now, you see this war in Ukraine and Russia is causing a lot of concern about the petrol. You know, petrol affects all. You know, the prices of petrol have gone up. That affects all sectors of the economy. The cost of living goes up. The other issues like, you know, wheat, fertilizers, that a lot of imported fertilizer and wheat. Wheat is for food, and the fertilizer is for supporting agriculture, on which a lot of people depend on agriculture in this country. So you can see those externalities. They come, and sometimes they are not, the government in office is not in control, but you have to do quick adjustments. The other thing which, what happened during Kibaki's time, you know, and during the Mwai time, World Bank, IMF had introduced structural adjustments. Structural adjustments were like to open up the economy, to open the economy for import. So that's opening the economy actually killed a lot of our industries. Remember, like textile industries, you people are young, I don't know, you are very small, you are not born. We had a lot of big textile industry in this country. And we had a lot of other, like motor vehicle assemblies. We are doing import substitution industries. So when we opened, our industries collapsed. That created a lot of unemployment. So when Kibaki came in, we put the structural adjustment aside. Because we kept the economy open, but we were able to manage the